Well, the performance that jumped out for me, and I think for a lot of people, was the performance against Phil Harrison in the quarter-final. That's a statement win, as we see Declan break off here. Watched Declan earlier on. He played fantastically well against Tom Cousins. You have to play fantastically well against Tom Cousins if you have designs on beating him. And he was breaking very, very powerfully. And that's the break he's looking to hit. The issue he was having against TC is quite often that cue ball was just tracking northeast towards that top corner pocket. But that first break is a good one, and it gives him a pretty solid first look at these yellows. Yellows are the ball, because the 8 ball is guarded by so many yellows. I think it'll pick itself apart.
Yeah, he's just trying to avoid traffic with this clearance, and to be honest, the break actually reminds me of the one he did in the decider against Cole in the earlier round this morning, in terms of the fact that it's just about keeping the cue ball on a tight leash and just making sure that you're not going to make any simple errors. But I mean, Declan's the kind of player that when he needs to hone in and focus, he's very good at doing so, and I think that's what both what their strengths are, and between the two of them, I think this game could go tight. I mean, the lag's shown it already.
Yeah. Well, if it's as tight as the lag is, then we're in for a real treat. I think both of them will be hoping it doesn't go as tight as our first semi-final. Neither a massive fan of the 6 red shootout.
Yeah, I mean, that 6 red between Luke and Christoph, you could kind of tell that neither player was really comfortable with it. But Christoph...
Until Christoph broke, at least.
Yeah, and then Christoph just found a way. I mean, yeah, definitely beforehand he didn't look comfortable doing it, but...
Christoph's such a strange character, because we were having a bit of a joke after the interview that we just did there, and he said, it's the other way around this weekend. For me, I'm usually nervous about the interviews because he doesn't think his English is very good, and he's not nervous about the pool, but he said he was confident doing the interview, and in the pool side of things, that was where he was in Shredsville. You always see that, though. I think he's been a bit harsh on himself, maybe. Semi-finals are generally more nervy than finals.
Yeah, because you know you're so close to doing something that's massive, and I mean, a lot of snooker players always say it. They go, oh, you always remember the final but not the semi-final. But I mean, even if you go back to snooker backgrounds, you talk about the Worlds and, you know, the Ronnie and Selby game from a few years ago, and then you look at it from the other side of things, where if you've got an opportunity to win a game comfortably, then you need to do that as well, and that's exactly what Joe's done today. You know,
what a break.
Joe has got a very good break on him when he's really gearing. And I mean, I was telling a story earlier on comms on table 2, I think it was. I watched Joe's game earlier against Jake McCartney, and he was telling me a story of the most amount of break dishes he's ever had in a row. He played Aaron Davis in a competition years back, won that 10-8, but every frame bar one was a break dish, and it was one dry break from Aaron Davis that cost him an entire match. And not many players that I know can do that, even on a professional circuit, on a professional level. So it's just a sign that if Joe really starts to commit and put in the hours and put in the effort, then he could easily be a title winner on Ultimate Pool.
Well, as I say, you know him relatively well. Is he sort of... How is his approach to this game? Is he putting in a little bit of time in the run-up to events, or is he being quite laissez-faire and just a little bit like a Tom Ford, for example, who's here for a good time, not a long time sort of thing, just coming for a bit of fun, bit of a social experience?
Don't get me wrong, Joe is a very determined character, and I mean, he maybe hasn't put in the hours that some of the other players would have put in. I mean, he kind of practiced a bit on the Thursday night before we played, but I mean, other than that, he just backs his ability, backs his cueing all day long. And
well, you would, wouldn't you?
You would if you had the stance that he does, honestly.
Yeah, rock solid.
You know, Ronnie O'Sullivan's talking ages ago about buying a cue action. If I could buy anybody's cue action right now on a pool table, it would be Joe O'Connor's. But
he'd be up there. It's certainly in the conversation.
He's just got to think about his business here and how he's landing on that yellow on the right-hand side, because that's going to be a bit of an issue for him. I think the black has a fairly big pocket into the top right. I think he can slip that past the red. The one on the top cushion isn't too big an issue if he was to land on it with the next shot, but
oh, he looks quite straight on this.
Yeah, it's just how he's going to add these all up. He's playing it with top, so he has got a bit of angle, yeah. And he's immediately tried to play on the top one. I don't think he wanted cannon on the red, did he?
He didn't, but he might have had a nudge here.
This is a tougher shot than it looks, because he's quite thin on this, and he's got to be able to control it to kind of not snooker himself behind the black and the red, but also just get into a good area in the middle of the table where he's not going to be too thin on this yellow down the rail. So needs really good cueing, but actually needs to play it with so much control as well. Yeah, and that's just why he's missed it fit, because he tried to play it with side to hold it.
So Declan Brennan gets an opportunity. And I know Declan will be so fired up for this.
Well, I mean, Declan's the man that's knocking on the door, isn't he, for an ultimate title? Has been doing it for a while. I think everybody thought it was going to happen at the last man standing, didn't they? Because he didn't get drawn out until, I think, what was it, 4th till last? But
yeah, quite a nice little payday for Decky that was. But I think, we were talking about it myself and Simon in his match with Tom a little bit earlier on, that he's such a quality player, and the level very seldom sort of drops from him. But I think for the year after he won the very first Ultimate Pool Pro Series title, he almost became a bit of a marked man. He sort of ran into a lot of performances in sort of middling rounds of tournaments, and eventually his confidence just took a bit of a knock, and he found it difficult to find ways to win. And this season we've seen a little bit more confidence in his play, and a little bit of a, it's tough to call it an improved mentality, because I don't think mentally he's changed. I think it's just his outlook is a little bit more positive, and he's certainly found a couple of results this season. Semi-final last weekend where he lost out to Stevie Dempsey. Semi-final this weekend. It's pretty consistent.
I think there's a thing of kind of like what I would call now, because Ultimate Pool's been around long enough, that there has kind of been eras of players that have really kind of taken on and dominated Ultimate Pool. So obviously you kind of had that Declan Brennan era that was at the start when he was going deep in a lot of events and he was the man to beat. And then you think about more recent times with the likes of Craig Waddingham and Tom Cousins. Ronan McCarthy had his run after the Worlds where he started winning everything. And the problem is that the depth on Ultimate Pool is so good at this point that players that should be in and around titles all of a sudden aren't getting close, because
it's not easy.
I mean, one person that I commentated on earlier in the week, and I couldn't believe the stat when I found it, Sean Story hasn't been past the last 16 in a pro event this season.
Yeah, which is a crazy stat
for someone that was all over titles and knocking on the door always in every event probably less than 6 months ago.
Yeah, it has been to a final this season, but it was in the Pro Cup, very first event of the year. And yeah, it probably gives a lot of people confidence that when they draw Tom Cousins, it's not impossible to beat him.
That's an unbelievable break again from Deck, but not quite as nice as the last one. But yeah, just going back to your point, I mean, there's so many players now that are coming through from the youth side of things that actually are knocking on the door, and you've got such a good mix now at the top of the pros where you've got those kind of players that have got a lot of experience and years behind them, the likes of your Mick Hills, your Phil Harrisons, and then you look at kind of this kind of mid-age group that are coming through as well, that have kind of settled in, like your Shane Thompsons and people like that. And then you've got this new generation, this youngest generation of players that are coming through, the likes of Ryan Marcus, Lewis Roberts, Cormac Kerr, who had a good run here.
Lewis will be absolutely over the moon. You've stuck him in that generation, by the way.
I think he is.
The only issue you've got is looks-wise. Absolutely, he's just in his 40s.
You are kidding me.
Well, there you go.
Well, you learn something new every day, don't you?
There you go, mate.
Yeah, Lewis, I've done you a favour there, mate.
No, he's done himself a favour. Drop the skincare routine. That's really annoyed me, because you've just made his day in a serious way there. You've probably made Trish Murphy's day as well.
Lewis, if you're looking for a doubles partner next season, just knock on the door. This is a great opportunity for Deck. He's landed perfect. He's fairly straight behind this red down the rail, just to land on that problem red that sat on the yellow.
Yeah, really I assume it passes. I think it does. If it does, then he's in absolute perfect position.
And this is exactly what Deck can do as well. I mean, it's not like Joe O'Connor's really had a lot of chances. Deck's just decided to go on a run early on in this match, and Joe won't be too worried right now, but I mean, in a 1st to 7 it can very quickly get away from you no matter who you're playing.
Yeah, absolutely. always feel like the start of a match can set the tone, especially in a semi-final. I think the experience that Joe's got from the snooker world in particular, playing the big TV events and all the rest of it, should help him deal with occasions like this. It's his first Ultimate Pool semi-final, but he's played in bigger arenas for bigger prize money and all the rest of it in his snooker days, and he'll be hoping that, you know, he's not too... That's a nice shot. He's not too worried about this situation, maybe dropping behind early. We did see, though, in that first semi-final, nerves are a part of the game. It was a shreddy sort of semi between a player and Luke Sanjis, who you could probably excuse. First semi-final Ultimate Pool, young lads. Christophe Lambert, a seasoned campaigner, was incredibly twitchy out there.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen too much of Christophe this weekend, but having watched Luke Sanjis a couple of times now, he was very good at just finding a way. Maybe necessarily wasn't playing his best stuff at all times, but true champions just have to find their way through rounds sometimes, and Luke was doing such a good job, and I'll be honest, I really thought he was going to make the final, but Christophe actually played some very, very good stuff towards the end and just did enough to oust him. But, I mean, they're going to be...
Oh,
wow.
Just. Did wonder if it would sort of affect how the pockets have been playing, but that one just about had enough to drop in. That is a sledge of a break from Joe O'Connor. I mean, this is a cut break. I mean, that is as good a cut break as you'll really see.
Do you know what? I found this weekend that the tables are breaking pretty nice anyway, but I mean, from Joe's point of view, he's just got such good cueing that if he's going to stun into the pack, which he does anyway, then he's going to be able to generate the most power out of the pack than he can just from his cueing. And
well, it's what we saw with Mark Selby. That was what he decided to do with the break, was that sort of trust his cue and timing and just play that hard stun, and it was very effective for him.
I mean, I'm no Joe O'Connor or Mark Selby, but I did the same this weekend and my break worked absolutely fine. So it's definitely a routine that's worked this weekend. I mean, maybe wouldn't work for every other event, but I mean, he's definitely found the formula here as Joe, and that's a great shot to land on the tough yellow early. It looked like it just rocked back a little bit, actually, that.
I do wonder if the two yellows in the middle of the triangle area are set as a plant. If they're not, you'll have to take one next, you'd imagine, to the bottom left.
He played to hold it. Great shot. And he's got a good line here that you can just screw back on this and take the next yellow to the same pocket as well. So yeah, this is a good opportunity for Joe to get his first on the board, and it's a good time to get it, to be fair. You don't want to start falling 4-0, 5-0 down, because someone like Deck just having to win 2 or 3 frames, even if you win your own, you're not guaranteed to get back and get the opportunity.
He's just tickled that cue ball through far enough to set this one over the right corner pocket. It's a nice little route he's got himself here. Wondered if he might take that to the left centre, but just going to stun up now for the 8-ball waiting in the top half of the table. It's nicely worked out, this from Joe O'Connor. First frame of the semi-final.
We were having an interesting conversation about Sean Story, because he was breaking with the one glove on his hand and one on the table when he was cueing for a break off and that. And we were discussing obviously what would happen if a red came flying around the table and hit the glove on the way into the pocket. But yeah, never seen it before. Totally new to me. But
what was that? Sorry, I didn't process that at all. Say that again.
So Sean Story was breaking off, and he would basically put his glove into the corner pocket of the top right where he was placing his cue to break. So he would lever his cue on top of the glove when he was breaking off, and then he would have a glove on his cue in hand as well. So when he rested the cue on the table, it wasn't getting stuck on the rubber. It would just sit on the glove instead and flow back and forth.
Ah, I see. He has done something similar before. He's experimented with a couple of different things. I mean, he's always trying new things, a short story. But he's before he's put a little wrap on that section of his break cue to protect it. I think it's a protection thing from the metal of the table and the back of the pockets, because when he cut breaks like he does, he's essentially sawing the table in half. I wonder if that was to do with it, but I mean, it doesn't surprise me to learn that.
Sean's story would be somebody great for like Dragon's Den. Someone that comes up with those weird little inventions that is just so helpful for any pool player out there that's just looking to get that little edge or little advantage in any kind of condition for a pool table. I feel like Sean would have the answer to it. So,
well, he's always keen to try stuff, and I think it's a good attitude to have. It's a lovely shot there from Joe O'Connor, just to pick that gap. Just bring you very, very quickly up to date with the two Women's Series quarterfinals on streams 2 and 3 at the moment. Amy Beecham is 2-1 up on Kerry Griffiths. Nikki Comrie 2-0 up on Lucy Smith. As it stands, Amy and Nikki will face each other in the semi-final. First semi is already confirmed. Sarah Trudgett through, former plate winner, and she'll take on Harriet Haynes.
I think Joe's just maybe playing to... Oh, is he playing this into the top corner, I figure? Or he's going to play the one off of the red into the middle. That's clever thinking from Joe. It just opens up the black to the left middle. And also, if he can hold it, then he can take the yellow that's closest to the white afterwards into the top right as well. That's the thing with snooker players. They're always just looking to do the absolute minimum with the cue ball. And it's shots like that that maybe the amateurs wouldn't see initially. Oh, but he's missed it.
Well, they are tough. Got to judge them right. That red was quite a way away from the pocket. And Declan Brennan up like a shot. And I must say, Declan looks laser focused in this semi-final. He started quick. It feels like he is very, very up for this.
I think Deck knows what's up for grabs, doesn't he? And I think Deck's got that hunger that maybe because he hasn't won a title in a little while, he's seen his opportunity and he's not going to back down from it.
Oh, he's hungry for it, make absolutely no mistake. He will feel that this has been a long time coming if he can make his way through to another Pro Series final.
Has he just come far enough? Not quite for his intended red, but he's got the one over the top left corner, so not too big an issue if you can't see it, but he is having another look at it.
Should just mention as well, the other final I've got coming up for you, and it's coming up for you after this semi, is the Challenger Series 6 final. David Hogan against Scott Yardley. David in his second Challenger Series final in 6 events, and that's a huge achievement for him. He's already taken down a Challenger Series title, and he's looking to make it 2 from 6 and join Connor Tracy on 2 Challenger Series titles. Will be a serious achievement. Scott Yardley looking to stop him from doing just that. Yeah. Scott Yardley, who had his 50th birthday, definitely this weekend. It might even have been today. So that'll be a pretty big birthday present for him.
What a way to celebrate.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, I mean, credit to David Hogan for getting to a second Challenger final as well. I mean, that is a tough old school to get through. I mean, I think you've got to win.
Yeah, you should know, right?
9 or 10 games to get to the final. Oh, I get to the last 64. That's about me done. A couple of
Still
good
not a bad run. Amount of players that were in that tournament.
Not quite enough to get me pro cards, Steve, but you never know.
Yeah, loading, mate, loading. Oh, Decky's gone about these beautifully. Just didn't expect anything less.
Cue ball's been on a string from Declan so far, and
he's been sharp, been really sharp.
Deck taking out Tom Cousins and Joe taking out Phil Harrison. They've arguably been 2 of the best players that have been about in the last couple of weeks, and
last couple of decades as well.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, they just both take so much confidence from it. And I mean, to be fair,
Joe keeps breaking like this. He's gonna give himself enough chances to keep himself in the hunt. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's an unbelievable split. The only issue really for him for the yellows is maybe this yellow into the top left, just because it's away from the rest of his work. But
well, it's a nice one because I'd imagine he'll leave it till last for the 8 ball.
You just got to land right on it though, just because that black's a little bit in between. It's, you know, it's not quite over the middle pocket, it's not quite over the top pocket, so it does still need to be landed on from that final ball, but it just means that he's got to get that white behind it. That's nicely played.
Yeah, it was a really delicate little cannon there because he didn't want to block off the right corner pocket for the yellow on the top rail.
Such a strength of Joe's as well, that he's just so delicate with his cue action, despite the fact that actually for somebody that plays pool, he's quite far away from the end of his hand. Like, his hand's quite far away from the end of the cue. If you see it here, there's quite a lot of reach from the cue that sometimes on those touchy-feely shots can get away from you. He's got a good angle here just to stun up.
But that's just all about your basics, isn't it? That's your textbook cue action right there. You don't need your hand close to the cue if you can put it in a straight line.
Yeah. Do the basics right and the rest will fall into place. That's what they always say, doesn't it? So
there you go. It's a bit of it's a very snooker bridge, this, isn't it? Right off the rail, 6 feet onto the table, no dramas. And he's got a lovely little angle to tuck around here for the 8-ball. May even go 2 cushions and into the top left or the left middle, depending on the angle he has got. Not sure he can hold for it in the right centre. Choice of options, just needs to pick one.
Yeah, it looks like he's just going to hold this with a little bit of stun. Maybe play it with a little bit of right just to naturally bring the white over. Oh no, he's screwed back for it in the corner. I mean, that's not bad either.
Yeah, I didn't think he had that shot. That's lovely. Yeah, very nice from Joe. 4-2. Stays in touch. Oh, what a break.
Oh, wow.
The thing is they didn't even come out nicely for him, but just the sheer power in that pack was enough. Well, don't think he got the greatest racket and still managed to force something.
Well, I don't think the reds are too bad if he can access the middle one of the 3 to the left corner. Because if you can get to that one, then all of the reds go.
I don't think yellow's are bad either, you know, Luke.
Actually, yeah.
He could take any here. It's actually quite a nice little split on both. I think the red that's on the left side rail was sort of the ball that you think, oh, I don't really fancy that. The rest of the yellows, I think, are all there.
Well, actually, it's the one that's just sat with the red on the 8 spot that's going to be a bit of an issue just because it doesn't go to every pocket. But he's got so many balls to cannon it out with and so much access around the table with these yellows that...
I do just wonder if it maybe even goes to the right bottom pocket as well. Because if it does, he can play on it really easily.
I think he might be playing the cannon. That's because he's come high. Oh no, he has avoided it. Yeah, he does want to make sure this goes to a corner. He doesn't want to be leaving it as a last ball to get cannoning out. Because that's just where it's got that little bit of potential to go wrong. But he's just so in the zone at the moment that I feel like whatever I say is just going to happen anyway. That if I say the ball's going to go in, that Deck's just going to pot it anyway. So
yeah, he's got that sort of confidence at the moment. I think these two will follow each other into the same corner pocket.
Yeah. Just needs to make sure he moves this red out of the way, but should do anyway with the cannon.
Lovely. Declan Brennan still faultless. Still absolutely faultless. One thing Joe does need 3 frames down is for his break to continue to fire, and fire it does. I think these yellows are lovely.
Yeah. If that yellow that's just to the left of the cluster of reds in the middle of the table goes into the top left, then this could very quickly be run out from Joe. If it's got to be moved, then obviously there's a little bit of work. When he pots that yellow that's below it, obviously it then goes into the bottom right as well. So
yeah, I'd be surprised if he moved it. I think you're really dancing with danger there if you go anywhere near that big cluster of reds, but may opt to do so.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to stun into that area now to take this yellow into the bottom right. He's short with that, because I think that's what he was trying to do, but always had the insurance of the yellow over the middle pocket, so it was never the worst situation in the world. And
just wonder if this is one way if you're Joe O'Connor, you back your potting, come try to cross maybe. Or is he going to reroute?
Well, it did make me laugh watching his game against Chris Day a few days ago. I mean, Joe was just in absolute full flow, went out of position a few times, left himself long reds that were probably 3 or 4 out of 10s for a lot of pros. And Chris Day just had to sit there when Joe was just floating them in the centre of the pockets. And I mean, he looked a bit perplexed at times at what Joe was pulling off, and I think everybody else that was watching was as well. But that's just exactly what he can do. He backs his pot and he backs his ability. And I think in Joe's mind, if he can do it on a 12-foot table, he can do it on a 6-foot table as well. Yeah, no signs of... A lot of pool players, if they were to go slightly out of position, you get that kind of thing that I love to call pinball, where all of a sudden you're chasing after frames, the cue ball's flying all over the place. Joe, if he goes slightly out of position, just has a knack to recover it. That's gone slightly wrong.
Yeah, he's slightly out of position here, all right. Mentioned he wants to avoid those reds. I don't think he can avoid them if he plays the yellow to the bottom right.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, could he obviously couldn't, but I was just wondering if he could just nip the cue ball enough just to cannon that red full ball that was above it and just hold him, but obviously couldn't, so...
Big shot, this.
He's playing this
good
right
line.
side. Oh, that's an awesome shot.
That's a perfect recovery shot. Very, very good from Joe O'Connor.
And that's one thing you'll get from Joe. Joe won't fold. Declan's going to have to go and win this. Point in his mentality.
Cue ball was close.
Tracking.
Stays up. Gets a nudge. And there's might just be a fraction more work to do on this break than Declan has seen so far in this match. A couple of slightly tricky balls on both colour sets. This needs a good clearance.
Yeah, if he's going to take yellows, he's just got to pay attention to 2 yellows in particular that I'm kind of looking at the moment. I mean, the one over the middle pocket he might end up nudging if he takes the closest yellow to the middle anyway. But it's going to be that yellow in the bottom left where he's got the 2 reds around it, and the one to the top right because there's nothing really close to it. And I think he maybe tried to play on that early and hasn't quite got there. But he has still got balls over pockets because it's early in this clearance, so won't be too fussed by that.
I think this was his plan, you know. I think it's a little top through, or he's screwing back. I thought he was going to play on the yellow down the rail there.
If he's straight on this, it's not perfect.
I wonder if Declan's decided the yellow down the rail is actually going to potentially be his last ball.
Has he screwed behind the black? Has.
Yeah, not ideal this. It may well have to be his last ball now.
This really feels like the first frame where Declan's having to chase it a little bit. He's still fine, but that cue ball's just doing a little bit more work than previous frames. That's a great shot if he's straight behind the yellow, because if it is, then it means he can take that one on the side rail as a normal cut.
Yeah, I think he's been looking to get on this shot straight since the beginning of the frame, really. Yeah, it's perfect. Wondered what the plan was with that. Was he going to land flush to the rail and take it that way? But this was the shot that Declan was looking for a couple of times. Gets there in the end. And that'll do. So Amy Beecham is through into another Women's Series semi-final. And Declan Brennan is about to go on the hill for a spot in the Pro Series 6 final. One away, the Destroyer. He will have gone into that semi and he will have known he was a favourite in that match, and he will have thought, with no disrespect whatsoever to Luke, that this is a great chance to get in the final.
Yeah.
And that in its own way adds more pressure than you already need in a semi. And Actually, I just wonder if he'll just free up a little bit in the final. I've done the hard work. Now I just need to go and win it. I know I've got to play well against whoever I play. Might even go in as an underdog, and that might suit him.
Yeah, I think the way to look at it if you're playing deck now is that you've got nothing to lose, because, I mean, the way that he's just played throughout this semi-final so far, if he were to get over the line, that's not a great opener from Joe, but if he was to get to the final, then, I mean, Deck's arguably looked like the best player in the room, and if you're playing the best player in the room, you can kind of go in with a bit of a freer arm, because you're going, I've got nothing to lose, he's going to be the big favourite, whether it's on the bookies' odds or not, and it's a good shot from Joe to take this one down the rail early. Despite the fact that the clearance still isn't getting any easier, it just means he can put all of his work down one end of the table.
Generally speaking, if you just need Joe O'Connor to pot you a ball, he's pretty good at that. Thump that one long into the heart of the pocket. This one at the rail won't faze him too much either.
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of seen everything from Joe today. I mean, the game against Phil Harrison, he was very clean, very attacking, clinical in the balls. And then he played Jake McCartney in that match before, where everything was a bit scrappy. Joe did miss a couple, and it was his cue ball that really got him through. But when Joe's focused and when Joe's fully committed to something, he's a scary player to play. And as I say, I mean, Declan might be on the hill now, but Deck still has to go and win this.
Well, since Joe's two mistakes early, I think he wasted two of his first three visits to the table. After that, he's been perfect, really. Not put a foot wrong, not a hair out of place. And yet, because of that slightly slow start, Declan Brennan looks like he'll be breaking for the match.
Oh, I think against probably, I reckon about 90 of the 96 pros that were on the tour, Joe probably would have got away with that and ended up going on and winning this game from the way that he's played so far. But Deck has just given him absolutely nothing since. Anything that Joe's got in this match, he's had to really go out and earn from his break dishes. Nothing's been gifted. He sat out, well, we're coming up to frame 10 now, so he's sat out, what, 5 of the frames so far? Just an unbelievable standard from Declan Brennan, really.
Oh, has he come far enough?
I think he was just playing, knowing that if he kept the white on the line, that he would have the cut on the 8. This isn't as easy as it looks. It's actually quite far away from that pocket, and he's got to be careful with his white ball as well, because it is going to go flying. So
yeah, this is very thin.
Big pressure on this. Great pot. Oh, and that was the worst hit break that Deck's put in all game. And how big could that be? And you can tell that Deck's frustrated by it. If Joe was to go on and clear here, back on his own break at 6-5, how much pressure would that put back on Deck Brennan if it was to go 6-0?
Well, that's what Declan will be thinking will happen. He will get another break for the match, that is for certain.
It's a little bit short from Joe, that, but it's not too bad. He can still clip this in, but once again, just needs a very tight leash on this white ball. Is he going to roll and find the gap, or is he just short? Oh, has he just got... I don't think he's got there.
He might be in a bit of trouble here, Joe O'Connor.
This is a massive let-off for Deck Brennan, even if he is snookered on the next shot. He definitely wouldn't have seen himself coming back to the table.
Well, he's fine. No.
Yeah.
He couldn't get through. I thought for a second that he was playing the lower of the two reds, but that wasn't on. He's played okay safety. It's a bit of a containing shot. Not left Declan direct sight of a yellow.
As I said, it's one of them that Dec definitely wouldn't have seen himself coming back to the table here, so...
You can just bend around this red, it will help him out a lot. Got to try and get this cue ball safe though.
Hasn't managed it, and he's left Joe right in here as well, with that white coming back down the table.
It's a good safety shot actually from Joe in hindsight. I didn't think there was too much to it. Seemed to be a bit of a containing shot, but as for what Declan could actually respond with, there really wasn't a lot there.
Well, it does help obviously with the rules that you've got to come off and then hit the ball and hit a cushion after contact as well. That just made Dec's shot a little bit harder. But as I say, Joe's still very calm out there. It does take off a little bit of emphasis, the fact that Joe's potentially going to have to get this clearance done in 2 visits rather than 1. But if you're still in control, you're still in control, and Joe's still in control of this frame, which is what counts to him.
Yeah, it was nearly a really bad error from Joe O'Connor, considering he had cue ball in hand to start this visit, but he recovered the situation well with a good safety, and here's his opportunity to put Declan under a little bit of pressure and go 1 behind.
He's going to try and play the gap now between this yellow that's the right of the black and the red itself, just to kind of leave it down the rail. Just needs to get a good judgment of side on this. Doesn't want to get too much on it. Played that perfectly, needs a bounce. Yeah. And then just needs a slight screw back just to find the gap. Just to play the black into the opposite pocket. Well, in fact, has he tried to take it in the right middle? I think he has.
I think so. A little bit too much angle, I think, to send it back for the 8 ball to the bottom left there. It's not too bad a shot, this. He's pretty good on it. It's for 1 behind. In it goes. This has been a very, very different kind of game.
Hasn't made a ball just in that left middle.
Oh, he's got a problem though. This is an awkward split. He's got a little bit of work to do. I think the reds are nice.
Yeah, the reds aren't as bad as they look because all of them add up together. If that red in particular goes into the left-hand corner that's just on the 2 yellows
yeah, it does.
Side.
I think this will actually unpick itself quite nicely.
Yeah, that's why he's taken this one to the corner early, but he didn't want to be on that angle. This is now awkward.
Yeah, he's going away from his work here.
Because he needs to come somewhere near straight, or just off straight, for the red that's over the right pocket.
He's digging in. It's a tough shot.
Yeah.
Not the biggest Joe O'Connor. It's what adds to the tariff a little bit. He's up on his tiptoes. Just floats it down the rail, does well.
And this next shot is so important. He needs to have a great angle on this red into the bottom left-hand corner. If he's got a nice angle, the rest of it becomes dot to dot. If he hasn't, then there's still a lot more work to do. If he's straight on that, then it's not ideal.
I think he's got a little bit. Not loads, but a little bit. He could also just take his medicine, play the gap in the yellows and go up to the top right. Certainly got the potting prowess to take on a shot like that. The last red will be waiting for him. But if he's got an angle to go high, that would be preferable.
He's digging down on this a little bit, so I think he's going to screw off the cushion. Or he's going to stun it. Thought he was going to play with backspin then, just the way that he was starting to cue down, but he played it really nicely. He's right behind this red as well, which makes this run through to the left middle. A nicer shot. Still needs a lot of care and attention though. Clean in the pocket as well, and I think he's perfect. I think he's straight on this red. just to push through for the black into the opposite middle. See the concentration on Joe's eyes as he's playing this shot.
We're going to a decider, folks. We are going the distance in our second semi-final.
And now the pressure reversed to Declan because of the fact that he's been on the hill now for 2 frames already. But
you'd always rather be breaking in the decider, though.
Yeah.
Biggest break of the tournament for Declan Brennan.
Well, he's been in 2 deciders already.
What a good break.
Oh, but there's
the split's not lovely.
He's not got a red. He's not got a red unless he takes on a very audacious plant, but...
Well, look, you'd always rather be at the table first if you're going to have a deciding frame. But Joe O'Connor is not out of this yet. This is a difficult finish. If he goes. He may not even go.
And if you
but I think he probably will.
And it's so ironic, isn't it? If you ever needed the drama, lo and behold, the one frame where the break doesn't end up good is the decider. 12 perfect breaks, well, yeah, 12 perfect breaks in a row, and the 13th is the one that happens to go off. Looks like he's going to go yellows here.
Key shot, therefore, is the yellow next to the 8 ball, and then the 8 ball itself.
Oh, but then you've also got the 2 that towards that bottom left as well that are stuck together. That
I assume the lower one goes.
Well, he's cannoned
well,
into it
there
now.
You go. There's your answer. It didn't. He needs a nudge.
He hasn't.
Well, he's got the one to the top.
Well, is that a big pocket actually? The thin one. The thin one along the rail. Does that go in off of the yellow into the middle pocket?
That's tight.
Very, very tight. But
I'm not sure it does.
That above angle, it looked good, but...
Oh, he's got to play.
He's got time.
15-second shot clock. It's always that transition that can catch you out, and Declan Brennan puffs out his chest.
Yeah.
With a big sigh of relief there. Now's the shot to break it out. If he gets this right, he may have 1 foot in the final.
Oh.
And it's got stuck
to it. It wasn't quite a Cole Bedford reaction, but it was close. It's unbelievable the fact that he's just stuck to that the way he has. Oh, and he's missed. Oh, that's disaster for Dec Brennan.
Foul.
Thumbs up to the table. Declan Brennan feels exceptionally hard done by.
This isn't
hard to blame him.
This isn't over yet because of that black and red. Because of the way that Dec played the cannon, he's kind of stuck the 2 together. So Joe's got something to think about here, but I mean, Dec will be furious if he goes on to lose this.
Yeah, it'll be a tough one to take. Joe will go straight into the 8 ball hit. Oh, in fact, kicks the red out from behind. That's a better shot.
That's not perfect. It's not perfect.
He's got a shot to play.
Because he's right in between on this. I don't know if he can maybe sneak past and get the red into the top right corner. Doesn't look like he can, but this is a big shot now. Very big shot. Potted it, but he's still not on good angle.
He looks high on it. He wanted to be low. I think he's dead. If anything, he's dead straight.
I don't know if he can get close to the middle pocket and leave a thinner cut. Wow, he topped it off the black.
What a
shot that is.
What a great shot from Joe O'Connor, right in the nick of time.
Still needs 2 more, but I mean, what an effort that is. And you notice how Joe's gone right down to the buzzer now on his cueing as well. Just to make sure that he's doing everything in his power to get it right. And it's going to be this 8 ball for an unbelievable victory that just didn't look possible, really.
What a comeback from Joe O'Connor, who takes his place in a Pro Series final for the very first time. Declan Brennan denied.